Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Solar Sidekicks. My name is Pat Southwell and I'm a licensed electrical inspector. I'm here doing this for Radio Carrum, which is a community radio station in Carrum, Victoria. And today we are recording this in Hobart. So I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional landowners of where we are today. And today we're in Hobart, which is remote. So looking forward to this episode and looking forward to our guest today and having a chat with the guests that we have. So let's introduce the guests we have today. So today I've got Ross Mirams. So thanks very much for meeting with me again today, Ross.
Not a problem, man. Happy to be here.
No worries. Really great to have you here. Let's get into a little bit of a background about how we sort of met each other.
Yeah.
So we've known each other for, let's say, 24 years, I think it is now.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah, so we're around about the same age and met you at trade school.
Yeah, Box Hill TAFE.
Yeah.
You were just saying before we went on, 2000 to 2003. So yeah, it's a long time ago now.
It is. It was a long time ago. 2000. So we were actually in the same class.
Yeah, that's right.
We were doing the Thursdays at Box Hill.
Yeah.
Some pretty funny days, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, it was, man. Like, back then you and obviously, time is a good asset to have to reflect on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like back then, I didn't take it that seriously in my apprenticeship. It wasn't until like the fourth year, to be honest, that I took it really seriously. But trade school was good. It was good crew of guys. Our teachers are really good too. And obviously, we used to drop across to the pub and have a beer at lunchtime and then go back to class.
Yeah, we definitely had some fun in those trade school classes. We'll get into some of those stories in just a minute. Also wanted to have a chat with you about your journey and as a Sparky, because you're a A-grade electrician as well.
That's correct, yeah.
Yep, and doing solar too.
Yep.
We're in the same industry. We sort of fell into the same industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you've had some ups and downs in the solar industry. Been in solar, or you sort of started around solar around the same time I did.
Yeah, I did, man. So my stories. I got fully qualified back in 2005 and went overseas for about 2 years, traveled the world, gained some amazing experiences overseas. You get to sort of reflect on what we have here as a country, how lucky we are. And then I was just reading newspapers back home. Then obviously Kevin Rudd released the solar grant. And that's when I think it was maybe like $6 a watt to install. So a lot of 1 kilo.
So was that the $8,000 grant that you were talking about?
It was $8,000 grant. That's when we had the guy from United Oil, who was the energy minister or environmental minister.
Oh, it was Peter Garrett?
Yes, Peter Garrett, yeah,
that's right.
So look, it was that industry really took off. And I came back from the UK, got my contractor's license, and then had a crack. And then I met my business partner overseas, working on sites there. And then we started a business. I'd say we probably did high volume stuff back then.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's sort of what that $8,000 rebate, that sort of encouraged that type of business, and I suppose that type of behaviour that really, you probably started off making pretty good money, I would assume at the time, and then high volume, high sales, that sort of, is that the sort of?
Yeah, so look, it was high volume. It was good money to begin with, and then obviously you work for a few contractors, and then they become price competitive, and then you start weighing up, where you can be competitive. I guess the biggest thing I learned as well is saying yes to everything. So we did burn a few bridges because we were just trying to do too much. And being sort of 24, running a business, we obviously had some targets to hit revenue-wise, but definitely saying yes too much.
So you reckon we're saying yes to just to everything? So if you're working for someone, anything it was, you just say, yep, we're capable?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So I wanted to sort of show a really positive front, and we were capable, but we just got way out of our league.
I'm sure you probably didn't have a lot of the company structures in place, did you?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and probably staff training would have been a hard thing as well?
Oh, for sure, yeah. No, staff training, we just come back from overseas, so I had no cash flow whatsoever.
Yep.
The GFC just happened, so we couldn't get loans, and that's what we wanted was cash flow. So that was really struggling the business in the sense of us being able to buy our own product and sell it as a package to make the money on materials. So we're really just doing it as like a subby install, which is basic cabling, normal markup there, and just being really efficient in installing was the best way.
How much were you doing a day? How many were you doing? How many jobs were you guys doing?
Oh, they were smaller systems.
Yeah, so they were. I know. You did a lot of 1 kilowatt systems, probably 6-panel systems.
Yeah, 6-panel systems.
Yep.
I think we're doing like 3 a day.
Yep.
Smash them out. So the trailer was loaded up.
Yeah, right.
I guess the hardest thing too is back then is the inspection company we were using, which I won't name the names.
Yep.
They were super slow to return paperwork. So back then you had to lodge your paper certificate with the other relevant documents for the government to release rebates, and that would just take forever. So it was a slow process. So the way I saw
ESV Connect back then, so you couldn't do it on the website. Couldn't lodge certificates, all paper. You're probably leaving the CES in the meter box.
Yeah, and then they were getting fax back.
Fax.
It's crazy. Like, and then like we.
Doesn't seem that long ago, does it?
It doesn't.
What was 2009?
I know, man. It's like it's when the iPhones first came out. But it was the point where like we actually went to inspection company and said, we'll pay an extra $20 per inspection if we can get it back within a week.
So how'd that go? Did that?
No, it didn't fly. Like I think back then it wasn't as high volume for them, so it wasn't a massive revenue earner for the inspection company, which I can understand. So they just kind of pushed aside, like, oh no, it's just too much. We're not interested, kind of thing. And then I remember back then there was like a ratio. You can only have a certain amount of inspectors inspect your job, but we actually teed up and found a really good inspector. And you know, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Or back then, it's 20 years ago. If we missed something in the job, then obviously we'd take a photo, send it through, and he'd approve it. We would miss certain things, and then because the guys are quite young, and we had contractors with us too. So that was the hardest thing too, is getting the contractors.
Look, that's okay. There's still contractors that do that now, and there's still stuff that gets missed all the time.
But there is that trust relationship there, right? So
for sure.
And like we would bring on contractors to try and grow as well. And then that was probably the hardest thing, is to manage the contractors.
How many contractors? So how many? So let's just strip this back a little bit. So you had yourself and you had a business partner.
Yeah, we had two apprentices.
Yep.
And then we had an A grade on for a little while.
Yep. So you're running multiple crews of in-house?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Then trying to schedule with no job management system back then, using Excel spreadsheet, trying to communicate with contractors, making sure they did the right thing, and making sure they represented us. So we were very particular in the way we did things.
Make them wear your shirts or anything like that? Not that bad? Oh, Jesus.
No, we weren't that, I wouldn't say that bad, but no, we didn't do that. But we definitely did sort of follow up with phone calls. We'd call the clients and say, you know, how was so-and-so today? They leave any mess on site? They, you know, courteous. And then we did a few issues.
Stomping on garden beds and that sort of stuff?
No, but even things like, you know, conduit work, if he found that was pretty average, we'd be like, nah, hey guys, you know, make it nice and neat.
Sort it out.
Yeah, because it's just that effort.
So, and then how many at your peak? How many contractors do you reckon you had?
Oh, I think we had two contractors working for us. There was myself and Nick and our two apprentices. So we got like 3 or 4 crews going. It all met up. We got subleasing a factory in Brayside. So yeah, like you learn a lot. It's good to have a go, and all those failings back then, I've definitely learned now, running my own contracting business.
For sure. So what do you reckon? What do you reckon the failings were, right? Because I think this is interesting for especially people, like we're a little bit older as Sparkies now, right? We've been doing this, you know, 20 plus years.
Well, the biggest failing for starters is doing a contractor's license. They don't teach you how to run a business. They don't teach you sales. If you've got no sales structure.
So I love that. There's no sales taught in the contractor's course.
No, that's right. Yeah. And so if you can't sell an idea or a value or a system, then what chance have you got out there?
So any business, unfortunately, anyone who wants to start or open a business, you are in the business of sales. And that's just something you're going to have to eat.
Exactly.
That's a sandwich you're going to have to eat.
Yeah, and some people really don't like sales or talking about money, but sales is just a conversation. That's it, you know. And if your sales is terrible in the sense of your value, your product, or, you know, your price point, then the market will tell you that because you won't be used.
For sure. So you reckon you were like terrible at that? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's not very good?
You know, I'm still quite anxious now. But I was definitely a lot anxious back then. But look, I did network marketing for about 2 or 3 years, and that was probably the hardest thing I ever did. But that just taught me sales skills of, you know, just turning up, having a crack, getting all those no's and getting the one yes. So that was an interesting time learning that. But before doing network marketing, like sales was just terrible. I was so nervous to talk about selling a product to money, but I knew that we could do it, you know.
We weren't taught any of that at trade school, though, were we? Or even really at school before that. Like you go to trade school, it's very technical.
It is very technical.
We're doing, you know, apart from heading over the RSL and at lunchtime and that sort of stuff and having a beer, a lot of that, we're having a bit of a joke with each other.
There's no social skill set to learn. You know,
Absolutely.
You need to understand your customer, their pain
That's
points.
Right. It is.
And then we can offer the solution to their pain points, whether it's, you know, and sometimes it's like being honest, saying, well, I don't think a solar system's for you right now.
Yeah. Interesting. So what else? So you're talking about the sales. What else do you reckon was another sort of main failings or learnings that you can sort of take from that time?
Being track on billable hours. So knowing what our true overhead was. We thought we knew what it was.
So back then you would have been charging out roughly at, I don't know, 60, 70 bucks an hour, something like that,
I think so, right? About $80 an hour,
Yeah, but then again, you're not also billing.
No, you're not,
No, you're not, okay.
No, and how efficient you are with those billable hours too. So, I mean, sometimes you'd have And that's the way the beast back then. When you're installing for other companies, they've flooded you with jobs, then all of a sudden they can just stop it. And
I think that's a huge learning.
So diversification.
Yeah, in your business. Diversification and relying on one income stream.
Yeah,
I think a lot of companies fall into that, and I've definitely been guilty of that myself. Falling into, you think you're onto a good thing.
Yeah,
you're onto a winner. You rely on these people. You think they're relying on you, and they're probably not, because they've got a whole lot of other people who they can just rely on.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
And they can just drop you like a wet paper bag or whatever it is.
Pretty much, because if they're working for a big company and their director above them says, well, we need to increase profits, well, they're going to go, okay, well, we'll just go to the marketplace and find the next cheaper installer from you, regardless of how good the relationship is. End of the day, it's just business, and that's what we learned. So, yeah, that was a massive learning for me. Is that I'm pretty big on friendship and honesty and
just relationship
based, but then getting burnt by a few companies because it's purely on dollar value. And they can be nice to your face as they can. But I mean, there was one contractor where it was about 50 grand.
50 grand. Yeah. And this back then too.
Back then,
you're talking not quite double that now, but roughly.
Yeah, so enough for to really struggle. So two guys starting a company together, no real savings. And making sure that we pay the boys. We always pay the boys on time. They never missed a beat. And then myself and Nick were sometimes paying ourselves $100 a week just to get by.
Just to get by.
Yeah.
So make sure you've got all your other overheads covered.
Pretty much, yeah. And I was saving for a wedding at the same time too, so it's highly stressful.
That's very stressful.
Yeah, it is.
You can't have a wedding on $100 a week.
No, you can't. No.
Yeah,
okay. Down Safety Beach somewhere, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So that's interesting. Any other learnings, or you reckon they're the two main ones?
Yeah, like running the business back then. So obviously, find a business partner that's got the same values as you.
Yep.
It's going to work just as hard as you. That's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah. Did you have a good dynamic, like with that sort of stuff, or was
not
it
really?
No.
I don't think we really gelled back then.
Yeah,
fair enough. I just didn't have the confidence to confront him and say, hey, I just don't think this is working. So it got to the point where we had an accountant sit us down and said, hey guys, you're about 20 grand in the red. It's not good. So then we just worked our asses off just to pay it back and claw back and find the two apprentices we had at the time, find them employment so they can transition out and do the right thing.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't want to close up shop and go bankrupt because I just didn't want that to my name. We could have done it, the accountant did.
So you didn't do that. I don't know this about you, because this is a time where we hadn't really spoken for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know how you sort of managed all of that.
Yeah, so as it sort of wound down,
it
was just, find the two boys, placement with another contractor, which we did. And then, just, finalise the bills that we had to, which is like, a bit of GST to the government and whatnot. And then, I jumped ship and worked for a big EBA company. Did that for about 6-7 years. And then, I just think I was just destined to work for myself. I don't know, I'm just one of the guys. I can work in a team, but I don't know, just that drive to, I couldn't. I mean, the EBA work was, and this
what were you doing? What were you doing with the EBA work?
So I worked for PSG Ellicraft.
Ellicraft,
was in their solar division, looking after solar inverters as like I guess you could call like a maintenance manager to some degree. They're an install team as well, so they had a big contract with Origin Energy back then.
Yeah, right.
The retailers, so it was high volume stuff. And then got out of that and went into the rail division. Purely because I was trying to save. So I was trying to save for a house. So there's a lot of overtime in the rail division. So I put my hand up
some of those were pretty good contracts.
So the LX projects, that's a level crossing removal projects.
Yeah. Were you on them, were you?
Yeah, so big point, And obviously PSG, Ellicraft went bust. And then I jumped across to Stowe because pretty much the whole crew went across. And then just worked at Stowe. Went through a lot of experience while working at Stowe and wasn't the best employee, and then left there. As things happen in life, and then worked for myself, and and then went back to Stowe a couple of times just as a casual, on casual rates, and then just pretty much started my business. And I was going to get out of the electrical industry, and then I qualified as a PT. So I did 2 years of study. 2020 happened, and then obviously COVID happened. And I'm like, fuck, okay, this will blow over in half, 3 or 4 weeks. Because the passion was to help people and the real interest in personal training. And then, it just didn't. So I was doing some PT through Zoom, trying to teach people how to squat through a laptop, which is another skill set to learn as well, communicating through a laptop. And then, I don't know, I was kind of lost. And then went to Tradie Success Academy, learned about sales and coaching.
Yeah, I'd be interested in a little bit of that, the Trade Success Academy. I've spoken to a few people who have looked at doing this type of stuff. Do you want to just quickly let us know what it is? Like it's
sure. So it's they probably run business coaching. So Tradie Success Academy is run by Greg Allen, and there's another one too called Upskill with a guy called Mitch Van. So he used to work with TSA. And look, they really just hammer you on sales. Figure out your niche.
So a lot of the stuff that you felt like you struggled in, or
so everything I struggled in, so like sales, really refining sales, automation's a massive thing. So,
but this is mainly electrical, isn't it? Like it's not really a solar focused thing. It's more
it's more electrical,
more Sparkies.
It's tradie based, right? So there's like plumbers in there, there's chippies in there. So the best thing that I found was obviously the community in there because everyone wants to be better. Compared to something that's free, look, there's still value in it. The Facebook groups. They're not a paid group, so there's a lot of complaining on those pages, but where you go to a coaching group, everyone's paying there to be better. So you're surrounding yourself, with people that want to be better. So that was a real positive.
I love that. That's something that I think that would be my advice to almost anyone who wants to be better. Surround yourself with the people you want to be like. Or
it works. It's a crazy fucking notion, but it actually does. Like even socially, surround yourself with positive people. That will challenge you as well, but you need to grow. But so the TSA was like sales, automation, and billable hours, like really tracking. So I was pretty loose with tracking hours and things like that, but now it's more dialed in. So
so that's really good skills. Well, they're actually two skills you mentioned earlier that you struggle with, and you've been able to learn those.
To have that sort of mindset and those tools back then, even if it was a bit more simplistic, would have bbeen a game changer for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Good stuff. All right, well, I think we're about to go to our first ad break. There's a few other things I think I want to cover when we come back from the ad break. So I want to tell a couple of little stories about our trade school. I also want to go through a little bit. So we haven't mentioned this yet, but you've made the move down to Hobart. And that's one of the reasons. Well, not Hobart, Tasmania. You don't live too far away from here. But I want to have a little bit of chat about that transition and how you did that once we come back from the ad, I think that's going to be a really interesting story. So we'll go to a message from our sponsors. Thanks very much to our sponsors at Radio Caram. You make all of this possible for us to be able to do. We really appreciate everything you do. We love your ads. We love your singing. So we'll hear from you now, and we'll be back in just a few moments. All right. Thanks very much and welcome back from the ad break. Thanks very much to the sponsors from Radio Caram. We appreciate everything you do. All right, Ross. Well, we've had a little bit of a break. Let's have a little bit of a chat about our days at trade school. All right. So seems like a lifetime ago now, doesn't it?
It does, man.
So year 2000. Year 2000 is when we started both as first years. What did you like? When you reflect on your time at Box Hill TAFE, what do you remember now? A long time ago now, but what are the main things you remember? The people? Was it the people?
Yeah,
was it the teachers?
Teachers are really good. Like I think we had a pretty good run. Really good teachers. But also just the facilities too. I think they were pretty good for back then. It seemed like a well-funded TAFE. I did check out a few others, but like Frankston, Chisholm. But for me it was just
I felt like I'm the same. I felt like it was pretty good. I think the teachers were good.
I still think it's pretty good now from what I was hearing there. Some of the apprentices coming through, especially the EBA companies I work for, then going through Box Hill TAFE, it's still got a pretty good rep.
So we used to Thursday mornings we'd all sort of roll in. For me, I felt like I didn't probably take it as seriously as I wanted to. There were some times where I felt like I did. And I felt like there were some times when we had some really good teachers. And I was really able to zone in and do quite well.
Absolutely.
And then there were other times where I either didn't get on as well with the teacher, or I was just not really taking it.
It's always hard to be excited about magnetism.
See that a couple of those ones. Well, so I think
electrical theory, it's.
Well, some of the ones I didn't mind. Like I think it was applied to like 3 and applied to like 5. I think I got like nearly 100% in both those exams, and I might have topped the class in 1 or 2 of those, and that was a little bit of a surprise because a lot of the time I was just only sort of doing the bare minimum, and those are the ones where I really sort of honed in on, and I felt like that was a really good time. We did a lot of stuff in the practical shed.
Yeah, we did, man. We did. Like obviously, first and second, you learn how to clip a cable, and you go through your wiring rules and installation rules. But yeah, for me, motor control seemed pretty interesting.
Have you done any motor control since? Have you done
I did Cert 4, so I was thinking about going to the mines probably about 15 years ago. So
right.
Cert 4
you went to the mines, did you?
I was thinking about doing it.
Oh, you were thinking about doing it.
So I got my Cert 4 electrotechnology, so it's PLCs.
Yep.
That was super interesting. I was foreman at the time, so it's pretty knackered mentally after running a job that day. And having to go to school in Frankston. But look, it was super interesting. There were guys in there that were just blitzing past me, but they worked for BHP, and so they had that automation background.
Yep.
PLC, but yeah, once the penny dropped, the program logic was super interesting.
Yeah, I remember we only sort of
logic.
We only sort of touched on that a little bit at trade school from memory.
Yeah, we did. Like, it was one elective. Yeah, it was like that. It was like Austel license.
That's right. We did our Austel license.
We did.
Yeah.
But I think now, like the electives at school, they got solar and maybe heat pumps or air conditioners.
Yeah, that's right.
So we call air conditioners heat pumps down here for some reason. It's
weird. I know.
It's fucking peculiar.
I have heard that.
Yeah. So when I first got in, like heat pumps, I'm like, hot water service?
Hot water service. Yeah, that's what a heat pump is.
Yeah, so heat pumps, like the one in the corner that's cooking now. Just call it heat pumps. So.
Yeah.
I know why. Interesting. The Tassie quirk, I guess.
That's like the splitties, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, splitties, yeah.
Have you called them splitties down here? And they're like, what's a splitty?
No, I think that's more of a Queensland slang, splitty.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah. I'm out of the air conditioning. What are they called in Victoria then? Just air cons?
Just air cons, yeah, ACs. So, but heat pumps down here.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah.
So, I remember a lot of the time, turning up to trade school in the same class as you and, like either, starting to fall asleep because it's an early start, and I've probably been out the night before or something like that.
A lot of us had been, yeah.
Yeah, so I sort of treated it a little bit as like Wednesday night I'd go out.
Yeah.
And
cruise on Thursday.
It's a pretty easy day. Probably not the best, but we got through it.
Yeah, we did.
And sometimes ended up at the Boxhill RSL, having a beer over there.
Yeah.
Or putting $20 in the pokies or something like back when we were younger.
Yeah, Cash Chameleon.
Yeah, Cash Chameleon, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, although they were fun days. Anyway, it seems like a long time ago.
It does.
What I wanted to get on to with you next was, so you made the move down here to Tasmania. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that? So you're in you live about 60 k's from Hobart, is that right?
Yeah. So Jeepson, it's about 62 k's south of Hobart.
Yep.
I was a little bit nervous coming to Tassie. More so.
Have you got family?
No,
here?
nothing.
You just decided to move here.
Yeah. So I met my fiancée Lisa about 3 years ago. So she's a country girl, sort of brought up in Warrnambool and Roma, and would always talk about how nice the country life is.
Yeah.
We both wanted kids. Obviously, you don't know if you're lucky enough to have kids, but we are. We've got Freya.
Lovely. So you became a father in the last
so dad at 42. She's
congratulations.
Thanks, man. She's the best. It's the best thing, as you well know with your kids. But so for me, it was just like Lisa talking about the country life, how nice it is. But I was really nervous coming from the hustle and bustle of where I was based in Wardy Alex at Southeast Corridor, which is really busy.
Yep.
Highly competitive as well. So I was trying to find properties that were close to the city. And then we went over the Vince's Saddle down into the valley, and it's just breathtaking down there. And so I really had that sort of, I guess that self-reflection is like, why are we moving here? For the country life. And if we're lucky enough to have kids, we want to bring them up in the country. So I just decided to, this house, it's got a river that runs past the property.
I've seen some of the photos
that
you put on social media, and it's breathtaking. Some of the things.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We've
got you got a stream in your backyard or something?
Yeah, we do, yeah. So we've got some local platypuses that will cruise through, got some eels, some trout as well.
Yep.
But look, I guess after living there for 16 months, it's more so the community. So there's a lot of people that have sort of moved to Geeston.
From Melbourne?
From
Hobart?
Yeah, like finding a lot of people from Queensland that are sick of the heat. Tend to be the older
sick of the heat, is that right?
Yeah. So they tend to be the older generation that are sick of the heat.
Okay.
Some people from Adelaide, but a lot of families moving down because it's a lot more affordable than Melbourne and the rest of the mainland. But just that nice sort of feel, the schools are great down here, especially in Jeepson.
What are the prices like? So if you're talking an average house in Melbourne, roughly, I don't know, it's probably about $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Or there or thereabouts. So what's this? you're obviously not going to get an equivalent down there, but
No.
what's the sort of
Oh,
rough
look, we
house
got
price
our,
sort of thing?
our block size about 1,700 square metres.
1,700?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's
so-
what, half an acre, is it?
They're
half an acre?
yeah, I'm terrible with the conversions. It's,
Yeah.
look, it's the biggest house I've ever had.
That's a decent backyard.
It's the biggest garden I've ever had. I love it, but it drives me fucking crazy when the grass grows like an inch in 3 days.
Yeah.
But look, it's got a well-established garden. We've got a beautiful ornamental cherry tree. It's about 100 years old. We've got rose bushes that are about 80 years old. So these are all things you start to love when you get a bit older.
Yeah.
In your 40s, don't really appreciate them in your 20s. But look, we got that place for about 640.
Yeah, right.
You know, a year and a half ago. So it's unheard
It's
of
less
to
than
get a
half the
property.
price of Melbourne.
Exactly.
Then. Way under half.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get that acreage.
Yeah, looking at the market's probably in the buyer's favour at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just
Interesting.
stabilising. But so for us, it just ticks all the boxes, and I can't see myself going back to the mainland at all.
Funny, you use
I
that
say
word,
mainland.
the word the mainland.
When you're in Tasmania, it's like, the mainlanders? No, I'm kidding. No, I can't see us going back to Melbourne. I could definitely see us moving around Tassie. Like we just went up to Beaumaris, which is up the east coast. We go through
Beaumaris, spelled the same way as the one.
It is, yeah.
near-
Yeah, Bowie.
Yeah,
But it's the east coast. You've got Scamander, Bichno, and then Beaumaris, and that whole
Yep.
stretch is just pristine coastline.
Yeah, okay, beautiful.
So-
And so, you've fallen in love with the community
Yeah, it's great.
down where you are?
Yeah. Everyone's pretty tight down there, and
Yep.
I mean, the first week we moved there, we're just walking into town. It's probably about a K out of town, and everyone waves to you. I'm like,
Lovely.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, who the
Sounds
fuck
really
are you? Like, you know, wave to you, like, do I know this person? But no, it's just they're real friendly, and the people, especially the old farmers, that come knock on the door.
Yep.
And so, they obviously know I'm an electrician, and they've got an
Yeah.
issue that wants resolving, so they just knock on the front door, and that's just the way it is.
Lovely segue into what I was going to ask you about next. So you did end up starting your own electrical business again.
Yeah.
And you did that in Melbourne before you moved back down.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you found that transition now working down here?
Yeah.
And in your new town and picking up new clients and all those sort of things?
Yeah.
How have you found doing that? Has that been difficult or it's been pretty easy?
No, it's
because
been
of
pretty easy.
luck of trades,
It's been pretty easy. So there was a local Sparky in Geeveston that's retiring. He's got his builder's license. Super friendly guy.
Older
really.
guy, is he?
Yeah,
Or
he's just out of it. He's got his builder's license. And
okay.
Decided to do something different.
Yep.
So he was just referring me out, and I hadn't met the guy.
Really?
So he's like, Aaron's referred you, and like, who's Aaron? Who the fuck's Aaron?
Yeah.
So I actually caught up with him 2 or 3 referrals after that, and bought a bottle of red wine. And so he's just a local Spark that's retiring, and after a few jobs and clients had looked after, he knew that my standard was there and that my service was there. So he was happy to pretty much take all his clientele base. So I've never had that before. Always had to hustle and try and chase work, but now it's kind of falling on the lap, so to speak.
Nice.
But that being said, I've got to offer that service, so I have that recurring customer base. Otherwise, you won't. Word of mouth down there is very strong. So if you do the wrong thing,
Oh, of course, and it goes both ways, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So one of the ways we reconnected again a few weeks ago was when you retrained. You've actually retrained in solar.
Yeah.
So I saw you again down at the solar training centre. So you made your way back to Melbourne and Springdale and did the course. So you've redone that. So how are you finding? So you're looking to do solar down here again?
Yeah, look, Grid Connect Solar probably not as much. I wanted to get...
You want to do off-grid, don't you?
Off-grid, yeah. So to get to off-grid, I had to go through the whole solar. And obviously did my solar course back.
Yeah.
I did it at RMIT, where it took me a year to get my accreditation.
A year?
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, at RMIT, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon now? You've been basically out of solar for a long time, right?
Yeah.
How much have you seen the industry change? Like, what are there basic things that are still the same, or is it like there's a lot more people doing it now, right?
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot more people doing it. The technology's changed a hell of a lot. Look, it's still got those fundamentals in the industry. People doing high volume stuff. Companies that are still very sales based, which we don't like because they're all there for the sales. So down here, I guess you probably use the word, I wouldn't say predatory, but they offer more than they can deliver. So they'll design assistance probably not right.
Are they all the mainland mobs?
I think so. Yeah, I get the feel it's the fucking mainlanders coming down. No, so I feel like it's a mainland mob because they tried to sell me a system. So I had fun with that. Them on the phone. So they don't know how to design. They just do a Google Maps look, and then they'll take a deposit and they won't deliver the system for 6 months. So I've met quite a few customers that have been promised a really cheap system. It's cheap for a reason. They pay a deposit and the system's still not installed 6 months later because they didn't read the T's and C's. So, I mean, that's always been around. That was around back in 2009 and 10 when I was doing installs. So look, I don't know how you get that out of the market because And look, maybe you don't because it's good to have competition. But the way I see it and the way I want to do it is that I won't be doing high volume GCs. It'll just be I'm an electrician, installs it, that sells it, guarantees it, and that's a selling point for me.
Yep.
But off grid, it's got its challenges. There's a lot of math involved. So I went back. I did my battery grid connect course at Solar RTO, and then a lot about batteries. So the teacher there, Josh Shepherd's amazing. Brilliant.
Josh is good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a gun.
Yeah,
super good.
from Kangaroo Island.
Yeah, and super helpful too.
Yeah, he's good.
There was times after the course, I'm like, okay, it's a lot of information. I reach out to him. He really helped me out. And then the grid connect, the off grid as well. I mean, that's another kettle of fish because the way that was sort of explained to me is that you become their TAS networks. So you
are their utility.
Yeah. So if something fucks up, it's like they've got to call me. So you want to design it properly, and use good quality products.
Yep.
So that's good. I mean, I've come across some stuff that, unfortunately, it's not the standard at all. And customers have been ripped off.
Yep.
And these are guys that are got, NetCC approved.
Yeah.
They're in solar cutters.
Really?
It's just like, and I'm not going to go down that path of like,
of course not.
Naming and shaming. It's not how I roll, but it's just like,
I mean, this is the thing though, like there's these things in place, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be these people who are going to be to get around.
It'll always be
they're those type of people. They're going to be sharks.
Yes.
And they're going to be wanting to break those sort of rules.
Yeah.
So, and look, I think, I don't know how we can get rid of that in our industry. I think it is just trying to have people do these systems who have integrity as one of their main values. They do what they say what they do.
Exactly. Yeah.
They also don't try and do it too cheap.
Yeah.
Make sure they're not going to go broke, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there when something goes wrong, when a warranty claim's required.
Exactly.
Oh, mate, if you're off grid, they're going to lose power, right? Straight away, they're going to be straight on the phone to the installer. I
guess the way I look at off-grid too is that you can have a system that's been designed poorly, but it'll work good for 2 years. Yeah. And then in lithium-ion batteries are cooked because the depth of discharge has been destroyed. So I think they've got this amazing system, and then 2 years later, it's like, oh, why are my batteries dead, or why are they holding 50% state of charge, and things like that. So
well, I think that's where it's going to be really important for these people if they're in country towns, to have someone who is local. Yeah. Who can get there and someone they trust. Yeah,
so look, it comes back to accountability. So the accountability is you have to put in a compliance certificate. Yep. But they're only randomly audited and picked up because there's just isn't that manpower to check every system. And look, that off-grid world, I'm new to it. So, but my thoughts are that it still sort of falls in that caravan, do it yourself.
Look, I think it does still fall there, but I think they've done a lot to bring it out of that space.
Oh, for sure.
And there's a lot of compliance and regulation in place now to try and make it, but it's basically, they want it to be a licensed trade. I think we want it in the industry to be a licensed trade so people know what they're doing. Yeah,
because there's new regulations coming out for caravans.
Yep. Is that right? I'm not aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm not over all of that sort of stuff.
It's okay, because I'm actually wiring up a mate's caravan. So I've got to download the new regs and sort of read through that. Yeah. So I mean, they're obviously cleaning up that space now, but even Josh was talking in class about these eBay packages that people are selling, and none of them are compliant to standards. So I was like, I don't know how you catch those people out. But I guess it's very similar to maybe Grid Connect, where it's everything has to get inspected. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's meant to be in Victoria. Yeah. So even if it's off-grid work and it's not connected to a grid, it still is. It's still prescribed work. It's still licensed work.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it needs to be. It's basically treated the same way.
Yeah.
The only difference really is the DNSPs don't get involved with any grid check paperwork or anything like that.
It's not there ourselves,
Like potentially, unless it's a microgrid, which that's another thing as well, because they might have something to do with that. But generally speaking, it's still licensed work.
Yeah.
I think it might be over 500 watts. I'd have to check, or 1 kilowatt hour, something like that. If it's larger than that in Victoria, then it falls under licensed work under the Victorian Electrical Safety Act. I'd have to check those figures, but it's something like that anyway. So it's meant to be, the idea is to stop people who think they're pretty good. They're not licensed people, but they think they're pretty good with electronics, and they know how to wire up a couple of car batteries together or whatever. To stop them getting in and putting in off-grid systems, which if you don't know what you're doing, it's pretty dangerous.
I mean, look, there's a couple that moved from Perth to Tassie, and I went to their house just to do a electrical audit. That's a service I used to offer back in Melbourne with a rental. Legislation Act back there. So the template works quite well down here, and they bought an off-grid system, and none of it's compliant. Like you've got 12-volt batteries, and there's like a gas bottle, like literally half a metre away, so that doesn't comply. An ignition source right next to a gas bottle. But they didn't know, so
was that an old system, or was that like?
Yeah, it's an old system, but like the builder had done it. So the thing is like you got to think, okay, well that house is eventually going to move on to a new owner. So the builder's done it, and then sold the house, and then they had a building inspector go through. Building inspector didn't pick it up. It's just it's going to cost them about 30 or 40 grand to get fixed.
Yeah, right.
So
just have to have someone to come in and make sure it's done properly. Basically, redo the system, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually thinking about going mains now, so about 300 metres from the street.
Okay, so it might be worth it for them.
Yeah, they're actually going to go down that path. Because I mentioned them, I can design an off-grid system, but what he wants load-wise, he's just better off going, underground.
Yeah, very
main
good.
Supply. But,
Yeah, cool. All right, very good. All right, well, I think it's we're about time for our next ad break now. So when we come back, there's a couple of other things we want to mention that are happening in the industry before we wrap the show up. So again, we'll head to the next word from our sponsors, and we'll head over to them now. Thank you. Thanks very much to our sponsors again, and everything you do at Radio Karam. So Ross, we've had another little break again. Just wanted to have a little chat about what are your thoughts about inspections in Tasmania and other states, and where do you think that sits with, like, not so much all electrical work, but with solar specifically? Did you? I suppose, was your relationship with your inspector back in Victoria a good one, where you were able to lean on them, not just for compliance, but for advice as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess, the best thing with any relationship is being able to have that open communication. So we had some inspectors that really didn't care, and they wouldn't jump on roofs and things
wouldn't
like that.
Get on roofs?
No, wouldn't get on roofs. So things like you've touched on before and still charge you for it. So there's no value there. I mean, obviously we get the job done, and
well, you can claim your paperwork, can't you?
You can, but I was getting that, and then we actually teed up a really good inspector, and like I was saying before, there was that open relationship and trust there. So if the boys missed something or a contractor had, like, okay, we'll go back, fix it, take a photo, send it through. So there was that trust there, but I think there needs to be more sort of working together, working together. So and look, when you're running a business, you've got that many things on your mind, and look, it's good to know majority of the reg book, for obvious reasons. But sometimes it's it's out of the blue, and you got to ring up an inspector. So
for sure,
when you press the time, it's always good to have that guy you can ring up and say, hey mate, look, this is what we come across. A little bit peculiar. What do you think? And then it's up to the inspector, and then obviously the inspectors can say, well, this is what the rules say. It's obviously up to me, the contractor, to install it to standard. But it's good to have that sort of lean on, I guess. Yeah,
for sure. I find that's really important as well with a lot of my clients. I'm not ashamed to say I charge probably a lot more than a lot of other inspectors. Potentially, either don't get on roof for starters or don't do their job properly.
Exactly.
But then it's also the side of it where they're getting the QA side of things on their installs, and then that advice whenever they need it.
Yeah, and that's a value point, man. So you said you obviously charge a premium, and that's what the premium is that's a value point. And for me, I'd have you as my inspector, because I'm happy to pay that, because I know, hey, shit, Pat, come across this new inverter or this situation, what do you think? It's an honest opinion. I know I'm not going to get a bad answer, so that's what that value is.
Well, you actually have called me up for advice probably late last year, and I think I might have said, don't know about these truck appointments, or I don't know about my SIR, so you're going to have to call someone else, because I don't know. I don't know.
No, and I have to apologise, because when I called you, I was somewhat frantic. Frantic? I was frantic, like, hey, Dad, this, and this. So I was, kind of busting chops there a bit, because the other inspector I tried calling, couldn't get through to him, and I was just, I wouldn't say I was freaking out, but it's I need to get an answer or some sort of direction. But
I know, it can be hard.
So I do apologise about that.
No, that's all right. Look, I just had to give you the honest answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's what I'll do. A lot of the time that happens in solar too. Usually I won't say, look, you probably have to find someone else, because I don't know the answer. In solar, normally I'll be able to find it.
Absolutely.
Certainly don't think I know everything about solar, but I feel like I'll know where to get it.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of good people in the industry you can sort of count on.
Yeah, I think this day and age, the smartest person in the room is not the one that knows the answer, but is willing to say, you know what, I don't know it, but I'll get back to you with an answer, because I feel like everyone just fucking knows think they know everything. So like that's the kind of ethos I live about. It's like, hey, I don't know the answer, but I will try my best to get an answer.
Yep.
You know, I think that's just the best approach to do it, instead of trying to bluff your way through, and that's what I'm seeing in these off-grids. Look, I'm definitely not an off-grid guru. I should have said that at the start.
I think you will be soon, though. No, but
it's a passion for me, and I like it because it gets your brain working. I've only done 2 of them, but it's interesting.
Well, I think if you get your head in that space, though, and I think if you learn about those things, like I've said sort of for the last 6 to 12 months, it's probably the last 12 months where I've made a real focus on my battery capabilities as an inspector and just in the industry, because I felt like it was a real weak point for me. And I was actually on another podcast where I said that I feel like I don't really know that much about batteries.
Yeah.
And I've made a real effort to learn about them, to learn about compliance with them, and just to really sort of be a bit of a sponge, take it all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend some time doing it. And then I don't know, at my heart of hearts, I feel like it's still a real weak point for me.
Yeah.
But then when I talk to people about it, I probably know a little bit more than I think I know, and all this stuff you just absorb. Yeah, and it all does sink in. It all does sink in, and there's people who I speak to who think I am an expert on batteries, and I don't feel like I am. But all these things that you do, they do count. Yeah, absolutely, they do count. So I think you're probably in the same boat. You probably know more about it than you think. Yeah, and it does, it does sort of creep up on you.
Yeah, and look, you can do all the courses you want, but until you get out there in the field and you go to commission a system and it doesn't turn on, like what the fuck?
What's going on?
And like in product knowledge, so like I don't know a lot about Victron, so I got a guy, a good contact, James from Every Battery in Tassie, and I'm like, hey man, like I've done the course, I understand where I'm going with the direction, but how do I program this MPPT? So like I've got some pretty good resources down here, and that's the kind of situation at the moment, is that I can't really, I can problem solve a system, but I can't I can't have it done within an hour. It's like, okay, shit, this isn't working, so I have to get back to the customer, or I'll stay on site so I get it done. But yeah.
So that's interesting, resourcing down here. Have you been able to connect with many other Sparkies down here with some other things, or in solar as well?
Not in solar, so like I haven't even done my first grid connect yet. But I had to get that to get to off-grid. Of course. But I've, so I've connected a few Sparkies and they've been super helpful. So, I mean, obviously we are competitors, but end of the day, like, the way I said to them, like, hey, I'm happy to help out. So if you need a hand, you need a subby, you're too stressed out with work. And look, people down here have been super friendly. You're obviously going to get those Sparkies that are super greedy and think about themselves, but you filter through them. You just have nothing to do with them.
I'll mention the word again. It's been mentioned in this podcast a lot in this industry. Co-opetition, right? Yes. So that's what it is. That's what it is. We are competitors, and if you're in the solar industry, you're probably a little bit of a competitive beast. That's just the way I think a lot of us are built. Yeah. But you also you really need to collaborate and cooperate with the people in the industry, or else you can't get better. Yeah. You can't get better.
100%. I mean, there's opportunity everywhere as well. It's why I see things. Yeah, and there's enough work down here. I mean, there's such a trade shortage.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's massive.
Still, is it still a trade shortage?
Yeah, it still is. Well, from what I'm hearing, I mean, it's slowing down as well. So I've got a builder friend who's chatting to conveyancers. So that's obviously the first person to see that they're slowing down, and obviously people that work in the bank as well. So mortgages are slowing down, or mortgage applications. So I think the economy's taking a bit of a hit. Prices are dropping down here as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's probably slowing down, idling a bit. I'm sure it'll take off again.
Look, I have noticed coming down to Hobart. I've come down to Hobart a few times for work, and I've done a holiday here or there as well. It's quite a big town now. Like it's sort of spread out a fair bit now. You'd walk down where on the waterfront now. There's a lot of people down there. There's a lot of things happening.
Yeah, there is.
It's not just a sleepy little country town sort of thing anymore. There's not. Fair bit happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of quite a bit of land release down in Kingston, Margate, so that's probably a big hub. But where I'm down, so the next major town that's close to me is Huonville. Probably about 20 k's away. There's a bit of land release there. People need houses. So I'm not quite sure what the state government's doing with that. But it's a great little place.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, for sure it is. I've always enjoyed my time down here, and that's why we decided to come down. I've got my best mate down here with me. We've brought both our eldest sons down as well for a bit of a weekend. And it's a good spot. I love it. We're having a really good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good to hear.
There's heaps to do. I can't believe how much there is to do down here.
Yeah,
there's
heaps.
Stuff everywhere, and I was expecting it to be, I don't know, like Melbourne is in winter and, freezing cold and pissing rain, but it's been beautiful. Like, it's cold.
Yeah, it is cold.
Like, it's chilly, but it's the thing. We've got the sun out today. It's been nice.
And when I was working in Melbourne and telling people I'm moving to Tassie, like, oh, it's so cold. I'm like, have you been? Like, no, I haven't been. So like, how the fuck do you know how cold it is? And like, it's actually one of the driest states. Yeah. Not where I live because we're in the valley, so we get the rain coming across from mountains. But I think Hobart's like the second or third driest.
Driest, yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. I think it's quite dry.
Yeah, it's dry, but it's fucking cold. But
it's a good spot. Lovely. Yeah. Really, really like it down here. What we're talking about down here in Tasmania. Have you had much to do with inspectors at all down here yet, or not really? So I think TechSafe are doing
so TechSafe have got the contract, I believe, for to do all the electrical inspections for the government.
Yeah, Department of Justice, I think it's called down here. Is that right?
Could be, yeah.
Something. Anyway,
yeah. So I was speaking to the local inspector down in Tassie. Yep. Pulled me up for a defect, which is fair enough.
He pulled you up, did he?
Yeah, pulled me up for a defect.
What was it?
I didn't have a connector in the bag, so basically what it was, I had a heat pump wired in, and then I
don't think it's too bad. We'll just edit it out.
So basically, I didn't have a connector, so I just pushed the insulation down on the cable, bent it back, and taped it up. Okay. I just didn't have a connector on me.
Look, what else do you do? I think we've all done that.
It was inside it's inside the inspection cover in the heat pump.
Yep.
So look, he obviously took it off and picked it up, said, hey man, and then I was at home, I said, I'll come right down now and fix it. So he was super appreciative that I came down and fixed it.
That's good.
And I got to meet him face to face.
That's good. That's the system working, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like I could have said, I'll get there next week. I'm like, okay, I fucked up. It's hard to say to inspector I didn't have a connector in the car, which is probably bullshit, but I just didn't have it on me. So I went down and fixed it up, caught up with him face to face, shook his hand. And then, I've been able to lean on him as a resource. Yeah.
So I think because a lot of the inspections down here are location based. Is that right? I think the inspectors have got an area that they kind of look after.
Yeah. So this guy looks after the southern patch from Hobart. Our inspections are random, I believe. You don't know your work's been inspected, but if you get a defect, you get a phone call.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's obviously a point system too. Which have some penalties applied to that, but
I think you guys get fined down here for if it's a bad non-conformance. There's fines in place, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's pretty.
Yeah. What do you read of that? Do you like that idea?
I think so. Look,
I do. I really like that. I feel like you stuff up, pay a fine. Like I don't think they're huge fines either, are they? Not massive.
I don't think they are, but it's enough to sort of hurt the ego.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably enough to change behaviour.
Oh, for
sure. Which is really what we want to do at the end of the day.
For what I did, like he's like, you need to make sure this is not, fitted off correctly. I'm like, I've got no escape out of that. Yep. Yeah, okay, you got me, which is fair enough. I think accountability is massively missing in this trade. I watch a lot of YouTube videos of the building inspector guy.
The TikTok guy?
Oh yeah. Like it's just the amount of shit that's going on in the mainland. Yeah. But this is probably happening here. So like that's massive accountability, right? It's calling people out. But I think that's missing in our trade. What I've seen down here is accountability. So accountability is, either getting fined or, some sort of repercussions for non-conformance.
For non-conformance, Look, I agree with that. I think there's some areas of the country that are better than others with that. I might sort of move into a little bit of that now, which a couple of things. We'll start sort of talking about industry news a little bit now. So sure. I ended up. I don't know. Anyone who's listened to any one of my podcasts will know I just absolutely just bang on about mandatory inspections.
Yes.
And I'm beating the drum probably harder than ever now. Yeah. So after speaking with Jess McPherson last week from NRG and all the things that we spoke about, I ended up putting a bit of a call out to some of the regulators around the country.
Yep.
And just a quick little Facebook message. Hey, my name's Pat. I do a podcast and we've been speaking about mandatory inspections in other states, and just a quick little spiel. Would love for you to let us know how you feel about this in your state. I know you're not doing it, but feel like it's important, and just to start opening the conversation, because I don't actually know at the moment if anyone is opening that conversation. Yeah. I mean, there's no point in me just banging on about it in a podcast, right? If it's not going anywhere, then what's the point? I just don't want to whinge about it. So just sort of starting this soft approach now. Yeah, well, I mean, I've got to work out exactly what the lay of the land is in Tassie, but I think I would love to have a system in every state like Victoria. Yeah. I feel like it works really well. How you do have you've got the Sparky who gets the inspector and then doesn't just use them to sign off the job or to, give them defects or whatever.
Yeah.
They're actually there as a QA, and
Yeah.
they're there in their corner to help them.
Yeah.
I feel like that system works really well.
It does.
And as long as you can stop inspectors from being corrupt or doing the wrong thing, you've actually got a really robust system there.
Yeah,
so there've got to be checks and balances to make sure the inspectors do the right thing.
Yep.
Because that's open to people being unscrupulous, I think, if it's not done properly. But if you sort that part of it out, which I think it's pretty good in Victoria, I think it's pretty good. There's room to improve, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You've got a really good, robust system, which is going to have good outcomes for everyone. So that's what I would love to have in Tasmania too.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've only been here a year and a half, so it might already be in place. But
well, they don't have the same thing in place, and I know they do have inspections, but I just don't know at what level it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
and the amount that gets audited. So, like, I might do 50 jobs and audit one of my jobs. So that ratio, and that's purely down to resources. But yeah, there's a government contract, and TechSafe look after it. So who knows how many they're inspecting and what their KPIs are. And things like that.
Not sure. I could always look into that for another episode and try and find out. But
I have to have them on.
Yeah, maybe that'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting chat.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably be more interested in also in talking to Department of Justice.
Yeah,
if they're the ones who are administering this contract.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, anyone from Department of Justice Tasmania, feel free to come on Solar Sidekicks. It'd be lovely to have you on and discuss your point of view as well. Anyway, that's me talking about what's happening in the world of inspections, because it's still an interesting time, and I think we still have all got a long way to go with our inspections, and we just want good outcomes.
Yeah, we're going to get better, right?
For the industry. Also wanted to ask you a question as well, which I usually ask at the start of every episode, but I'm going to do this one at the end.
Yeah, sure.
So, are you a solar sidekick or are you a solar superhero? What do you think you are? Yeah.
Oh, look, man, I'm not a superhero. I'm more of a psychic.
So you're just going to give the normal answer that everyone gives, are you? Everyone just goes, I'm just a sidekick, and you could be the first one to call yourself a superhero if you want, but
No, I don't think I will. The reason being is I've only just got back into solar.
Okay,
so I've been sort of 10, 15 years off.
Because you're going to have to justify it now.
Yeah, exactly.
On the spot. You've got to justify
exactly right. So why are you a superhero? No, I'm definitely a psychic, but supportive psychic. So, wanting to work with other solar installers, help them out when they can. And look, it's also good speaking to, guys on the other side of the fence, inspectors.
Yep.
So, solar psychic that's happy to support and help out. So not a superhero yet.
Still room.
Still room. Yeah, still room. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll pay that answer as well. So we're now at episode 10, and we still have not got one person who's called himself a solar superhero. We had Jess last week who said she wants to be a superhero, and she still feels like she's a sidekick. So maybe just the industry is a bit too humble. Maybe. We might get one of those government policymakers call themselves a superhero. Call themselves a superhero.
Yeah, probably.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to if that happens. All right. So I think we're coming to the end of the episode now. What do you reckon the solar industry's got in store for it in the next sort of 12 to 18 months, and crossing over to the electrical industry as well? Like, do you think we've got a bright future? You think it's good times at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think we've got a very bright future. I'm super interested how it's going to pan out in probably a timeline, 5 to 10 years, when we're battery, and who knows where it's going to go, but the cost of battery storage really drops, and we become, what's the word, I guess, not micro, we become self-sustainable.
Self-sustainable,
yeah. And so how that actually works with retailers, because obviously retailers are out there making money selling us electricity, but if we can store it ourselves and not depend on them, where does that leave that landscape?
And you're talking probably also about using EVs, vehicle to grid charging, all those sort of things.
I think it's called dynamic charging, So using a car to charge the house or run the house. How effective that's going to be, obviously, with the cycle life of the batteries and things like that. But I think it's next to 10 years, it'll be super interesting.
For sure.
Because a lot of things are privatised in Melbourne with retailers. I think it's privatised down here too. If it's not privatised and it's government-run utility system, how are they going to make money if everyone's storing and using their own electricity? Yeah, still using the poles and wires. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how that's going to work. Yeah, so there'll be still surcharges there, but the fact you're pretty much self-sustainable. I just find that super fascinating how that's going to affect the industry. But I'm interested to see a lot of that too. Yeah, we're in a Or how they're going to make money, right? That's right, exactly. Their businesses. So. Well, we're at an interesting stage in this transition, I think, at the moment, right now. Yeah. We're probably at a time now where EVs are probably coming into the market at a
quicker rate than they were before.
Very much so, especially with, I haven't done too much reading, but just BYD. So Chinese EVs are making a real big sort of push, and it seems to really
the amount of EVs in China is insane, and the amount of EV companies as well. There's car companies I've never even heard of before, and I heard they're doing huge amounts per year. I'm like, who are these people?
I know, it's amazing how China can just focus on one thing and just get it done.
They do.
That communist regime that's like building EVs, if I can do it.
And then, could be that.
I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, all right. No, that's great. All right, well, thanks, Ross, for coming down and meeting up with me on my holiday, taking some time out of, I think I don't think you cut your holiday short, but you sort of tack this on to the end of a little coastal run up with the family as well.
Exactly, man. So we're on the way home through Hobart. So, look, I know it's what you're trying to do is important. I see it as important, so I'm happy to hang back and do this. But now, it's 4:45. We're going to shoot off home.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's it's getting dark as well. So we're going to finish up now. So thanks for meeting up with me, and I appreciate you coming down, and been great to reconnect again after all these
it's been
years
good.
at Box Hill TAFE and doing all the other stuff we did at Solar Training Centre as well. So
it'd be good to keep in touch.
Absolutely, no worries. All right, well, thanks everyone. That comes to the end of episode 10 of Solar Sidekicks. Until next week, we'll see you at episode 11, and we'll be back in the studio in Carrum. So thanks everyone.